Welcome to Geektionary. My name's Corey Hales, and this is the geekiest podcast you'll probably ever hear, where I will try to teach you, along with my friends, about the nerdier things in life. Let's talk about it. This is me rambling. Anyway, well, might as well. Sally forth.
Sally forth.
We are on S for Steampunk, and I'm with Colin again, Colin Williams.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it, Colin?
Has, yes.
All of 15 minutes since we last talked about reading.
Nice little smoke break, and back to the... I miss smoking.
Bringing up the Denny's thing again. Ever since I heard about the Hobbit hole sandwich thing, I've wanted one so badly. You know what it is, right? It's a cheese bun with egg in it, kind of like the bird's nest thing where you have egg and toast.
Right.
It's two of those and something inside. I never heard what, but then there's also like cheese, bacon, hash browns. Doesn't that sound good? Because the thing is, since it's Denny's, you know you'll eat it and then be immediately filled with illness and regret.
I'm kind of sad I went to a McDonald's. I mean, I'm filled with illness and regret as it is.
Yeah, but you aren't satisfied.
I'm not satisfied.
Yeah.
I had a Hobbit-style breakfast.
So Steampunk. It's when goths discover the color brown.
I resent that. I really resent that. But
I do. I like the idea of steampunk, but when I heard someone say steampunk is when goths discover the color brown, I was like, actually, yeah, that's totally. It's. I don't know. I don't like goths very much. I find them super pretentious, and I find steampunk goths, that type of steampunk, because that is
there are
different types.
Yeah, there are steampunk goths, which no one likes.
No, because they're just in it for dressing in brown.
Yeah. And
occasionally having a bit of copper on them or something, you know?
And you can usually tell by the eyeliner.
Yeah.
It's like a zombie. If you see something running towards you with dead eyes and greenish dead skin, you know it's a zombie.
Yeah.
If you see something running towards you wearing thick eyeliner, you know it's most likely a goth.
And also, that joke also makes me think of, I wish my lawn was emo so that it would cut itself. Anyways. Steampunk is the idea. It's an idea. It's a subculture, but it's mostly, in my opinion, a type of fashion or not architectural style, but it involves more inanimate things than it is more of a philosophy. You know what I mean? Like the goths have a sort of philosophy. It also is mostly about the look.
Yeah.
But I guess it would be steampunk and punk. Punk has a philosophy. It has a mental driving state behind it, and it has the whole fashion thing. Steampunk is a lot more vague. It's basically 19th century or post-apocalyptic or Western society with steam being
Victorian
the dominant
era.
Yeah, 19th century.
Right.
Specifically though, Victorian or post-apocalyptic / Western society with steam being the dominant power source, and for some reason, a lot of airships. Like
a ridiculous amount of airships.
I don't know.
Zeppelins.
That's an airship.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Colin, for defining one more type of airship. Hot air balloons. Other things. Dirigibles. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, you know? I guess in the one sense it's like, well, they have flying machines and they want them to, like, is it because they want them to conceivably work? I guess it's better that than a steam-powered fucking plane.
Yeah.
But I still, like, to me, it just seems, I figure trains would be the number one way to go in Victorian era steampunk stuff, you know?
And it depends a lot on what universe you look at.
Yeah.
One of the biggest variations seems to be in the Japanese animation style, which for some reason they've grabbed onto steampunk like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I didn't write them down, but I found a list of several, like Steam Boy, which some people have heard of. I've never watched it. I don't watch a lot of anime.
It's not bad. It's whiny characters, but
so it's anime. Yes, it's still anime.
We can't forget everyone's favorite Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
Focuses more on the train travel.
Yeah.
style of steampunk.
And that has a bit of magic in it, alchemy and such, and a kid's soul living in a giant suit of armor. Is that what it is?
A suit of armor that's wearing an apron.
It's not just good on the battlefield; it's good in the kitchen. That's a stupid idea. It was popularized. It is popularized now by famous H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, who to me seemed a lot more grounded. Like, yes, they're discussing scientific things, but at the same time, it's it's still outlandish. It makes me think. Do you know Kate Beaton?
I do.
From Hark a Vagrant. Yeah, she did this one comic, which is based on something that happened. Apparently, I think it was Jules Verne was a big fan of Edgar Allan Poe and would send him like letters. And so all the comic is Edgar Allan Poe reading this, really troubled, and it flashing back to Jules Verne, like lying on his stomach with his hands under his chin, his feet flicking back like a little girl who's phoning a boy. You know.
Oh wow.
One thing also,
I'm never gonna get that image out of my head now. Two of my most favorite authors, just
and just like turn them into women.
Yeah.
That's not as bad. Oh God. Moving on. I think it was Jules Verne and H.G. Wells. One of them had a problem with the other in terms of the science fiction aspects. One of them would just say, "This is what happened," and it worked, and the other one would say, like, "No, no, no, you need to actually make a concept. You need to explain why it works the way it does." And like to me, that's who gives a shit. Like either way is good, but like flying steam powered machine, that's all you need. But then whoever it was that thought like, no, you need to like, it was a flying steam powered machine. The steam would go through the tube. It's just either way good, but
sometimes the mysticism of the whole thing kind of creates just a nice little magic world.
Yeah. I know my whole relation with steampunk in terms of actual cultural things that I've enjoyed and experienced would be mostly Western steampunk. There's the role-playing game Deadlands, which is sort of it is steampunky, except instead of using cold, it's like basically coal with souls inside of it, and they scream when they're burnt, and it's fairly dark. But also the Bruce Campbell series, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
Yes,
wasn't very good, but Bruce Campbell made it great. He has that weird, and of course Wild Wild West, the TV show and the god awful movie with the giant spider. Yeah.
Just remembering that just fills me with sadness.
I was so excited to see that movie because I was just like, "Fuck yeah!" Like Wild West crazy shit. Hey, a giant spider.
And like even the merchandising times, you'd go to Burger King, you could buy the steampunk glasses that they wore throughout the entire thing. So as a child, you're gone, and it's like, yay.
I was awesome. I was listening to a show. How Did This Get Made? By with Paul Scheer, Jason Mantzoukas, and June Diane Raphael, and they were discussing they were talking about Wild Wild West, and they brought up things which kind of make me want to watch the movie again, but at the same time I feel kind of disgusted that the movie did it at all. It is apparently extremely racist. Anytime they get a chance for someone to talk to Will Smith about him being black, they do, and they do it very disrespectfully. And like the main guy, especially like the main bad guy, I can't remember the actor or the name of the character, but he had the wheelchair. He was apparently just a massive racist throughout the entire movie, which he's a bad guy.
Back, yeah, he really was.
Yeah, and if you listen to the actual dialogue, I can't think of any specific lines right now, but it is so like they are like reaching for. They will go to any length to make a derogatory.
I can't remember much about that movie.
Thank God.
Thank God. Sadly, one of the scenes I do remember is when they're trying to infiltrate the mansion.
Yeah.
Will Smith's character gets caught, and they decide they're going to lynch him.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember this whole thing of him trying to explain his way. I was like, dear God, this is like
yeah. This has suddenly gotten way too real.
Yeah.
Another thing also in that movie is in response to the racism and the bad guy, Will Smith is very derogatory towards for lack of a better word, cripples.
Yeah.
Just constantly cutting him down. That seems like a terrible.
And anyone from the South.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like Django Unchained.
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio looks like an awesome racist villain in that. I want to see that so badly. Did you ever? Wow, World of Warcraft obviously has some in it because it's got gnomes.
Yeah.
And that's what gnomes do. Crazy ass machines. They've done it in Dragonlance, Dungeons and Dragons, World of Warcraft. It's what happens.
I always find it weird because when I picture steampunk, I picture corsets.
Not gnomes.
Not gnomes.
Yeah. There's another game called Arcanum. Did you ever play that?
I never played Arcanum. I've heard of it. Never played it.
I bought it and I was too young to think to play it. I played Fallout because that game's a bit more like Arcanum involves like it's a bit more has a bit more depth than Fallout, and it's a fantasy world with dwarves and orcs and elves and magic and stuff. But there's also steampunk inventions and technology, and Clockwork is also part of Steamwork, which I enjoy a bit more than Steamwork. But if you use more magic, you can't use technology. Like you can try and it might work, but simply because you're either going with science or with magic, and they don't get along. So if you're big into magic, tech won't work for you. If you're big into tech, magic won't work for you. It's an interesting kind of, or if magic is done to you and you are big on tech, it will hurt you more. And you can go the middle ground, but it's very difficult.
Right.
So I loved that game. I really would like to try it again. I don't know whatever. I think I sold it to someone, but it was a very cool world. Very good music.
Yeah, I find in general, in video games,
yeah,
steampunk isn't usually done well, so it's good to hear about.
Yeah, it's like there are steampunk elements in a number of shooters. Did you ever play the absolutely terrible game Damnation?
Oh, you had to remind me of Damnation.
Yeah, they shipped it fucking broken. It was
saying
so
they shipped it broken
unfinished.
is too nice.
Yeah. Oh man, it was so bad.
Like I remember hearing at E3 when they said Damnation was coming out. It's going to be a Wild West game. Okay, it's going to be a Wild West steampunk game. You've now got my interest.
Yeah,
it's going to have open maps. It's going to do this. There's going to be zip lining. All this. Like, this is going to be wonderful. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
What the hell have you shipped me?
Yeah. Oh wow, it was bad. It was so bad.
And I mean, there was no good aspect about it.
No, the story was kind of interesting, and that's the only reason I played as much as I did. I never beat it because it was so broken. It got ridiculously hard, and aiming sucked, movement sucked, climbing sucked, ziplining sucked. Everything about it, absolutely fucking terrible.
And there was another game that came out a couple months after that.
Yeah.
Jetpack. Alien,
Dark Void.
Dark Void.
I liked that. I played the demo though. Only the demo.
The actual game, great story, interesting game, neat characters. It was broken. It was not
hard to do things, right? Yeah.
And this is a company that it was Crimson Skies. So you were expecting at least some half decent flying mechanics in the jetpack.
Mm-hmm.
It was terrible.
You could get used to it, but it was a weird amount of it was a weirdly steep learning curve for something that you are expected to do for the entire game.
I was 3 hours into the game and I felt like something from a bad Disney movie where whenever I'd try to use my jetpack, I'd wind up just flying into a rock face, and it wouldn't just be once, it'd just be over and over again.
Whap, whap, whap. Damn it, I'm not a fly.
Then game would of course bug out, and so you're now stuck in this and you've lost.
Yeah, it's with steampunk though, and I feel like it's a hard subgenre to really portray in a lot of media outside of literature, outside of books and stuff, like movies, like fucking Wild Wild West, that terrible thing. It's not that the steampunk was poorly portrayed, it's just that everything around it was stupid.
Yeah.
A little bit of, I think, with Return to Oz, with Beirut the Balk, and they had TikTok the entire army of Oz, like one robot dude.
Yeah.
I like TikTok.
I mean, like, in Steampunk's one of these things, if you get into the universe and you immerse yourself in the universe, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
You can't just take small aspects and say, hey, this is steampunk now.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like some walking down the street in 18th century Victorian garb in the 21st century.
Yeah.
They're not gonna fit in. It's
No.
not an aspect that's gonna fit in.
No.
One good game though, when you look at it, is this is Dishonored.
Sort of, yeah. It is steampunk. It is steampunk. It also like Arcanum, steampunk, and magic, and they work together. I just actually bought that game. Very fun.
Enjoy.
Okay, this is dumb, and this is not off topic. Dishonored does have steampunk. This is totally on topic. Before I bought it, I recently bought it. It came out a while ago, and I had heard, oh, it's supposed to be great. Everyone loves it. I read one bad review, which is just like, we feel like that with the magic and the steampunk and the whaling and this and that, like, it seems like they're trying too hard and there's too many aspects, and they didn't like it because of that. And I'm just like, you know what? Fuck that game. I'm not getting that game. Then I buy it and I was like, yes, steampunk, magic, whaling, everything is fantastic. Give me more. You know, it's such a fun game.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
It's one of these games that makes you feel like a badass in a steampunk world from square one.
Yeah.
It immerses you into the world, which is really nice.
Yeah, I love that. It's I think it's made by Bethesda too.
It is Bethesda.
Who did Skyrim, right?
Skyrim and
yeah. They did one of the Fallouts as well.
They did, I believe, Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, and the thing is, both of those games and this game all super good. And the one thing I like about them that they all have are Fallout less so are books. Like they have fiction books, they have history books, they have all sorts of books that just flesh out the world that much more, which is to me like it's one of the reasons I love role playing games so much, because it's a full world. It has depth and it's I love it. So I love a fully realized world, like with BioShock, you know? Yeah. One thing about steampunk that to me proves that it's not a fully realized thing is the music of steampunk. Music that's classified as steampunk. It's extremely varied.
Yes, that's.
I made a list of different artists that are considered steampunk and the genres that they are. Obviously, Dr. Steele, who does what is described as industrial operatic hip hop, which is a bit of a mouthful. But you've heard him. You know that fairly apt, right?
Yeah, that's.
Another description I heard is like if Rob Zombie was more focused on science fiction than horror.
I don't.
That's a little less.
Yeah,
so.
That's kind of reaching there.
Yeah, but yeah, Dr. Steele raps, but he also does the death growl of metal, and he also does crazy operatic restraints. I think they're called, right?
Yes.
And it's Dr. Steele. He has this fully fleshed out character. Also, much less steampunk. I think the only thing people like attach to him as being steampunk is that he's a toy maker who makes clockwork stuff. And he wears goggles. Yeah, he wears goggles. So therefore, steampunk.
And there's corsets involved with his assistants.
Actually, no, not so much. They might wear them.
The first couple episodes, I saw quite a few corsets. It made me happy.
My problem with corsets, and I wrote it down in a later thing so that I came up to it eventually, and in case I forgot, was the problem with corsets is that the people who tend to wear corsets are not the people you want to see wearing corsets. They're the ones that should be using corsets. It's like girdles, you know?
Yes.
Because it makes those boobs really fucking pop. But you know that the second that thing is restrained, it'll fly off, break a lamp as it flies off with such force, and then the gut will just.
There's injuries involved.
Oh,
mental, physical.
Yeah, a button will fly up, hit someone in the eye. Like they are. And this is nothing against bigger women. Some women are like some bigger women are very very beautiful. To me it's about the whole flow, the whole shape of the. It's not just one thing or another. But yeah, it would be good if they also weren't ugly. And this is super super mean of me to say.
Wow.
This is, you know what I mean though. Like,
yes, I do. I do know what you mean.
And that's a problem I find with a lot of these super specific subcultures is that because they're super specific, the nerds are the ones that get involved, and nerds are not generally known
for their
for being attractive. It's not that they don't exist.
It's the sort of thing people wouldn't want to see me. Like, I'm not saying I'm unattractive, hideous, but I'm probably not a person who should be wearing a corset ever.
Yeah, or a girdle. Yeah, the man's corset. It's tough. Anyway, let's just move on. Not too much.
Moving on. Yeah.
Abney Park, which I know you enjoy.
I really enjoy Abney Park.
They are, in the thing I read, they're described as industrial dance / world music.
And some of their stuff goes into the techno, dance.
I find their stuff is a bit too drony for me.
And they've got a really, their early stuff was very drony. I mean, they're band based out of Seattle.
Uh-huh.
Like a lot of these more independent bands.
Yeah.
One of the big things that was holding them back was costs related to production.
Mm-hmm.
As you've seen them go along with some of their newer stuff, I believe it was their End of Days CD with songs like Neo Bedouin and their newest one, Ancient World, which gets back to the steampunk.
Oh, so they kind of strayed from the steampunk.
Oh, they, without a doubt. I mean, I'm trying to remember the name of their. They released an album called Taxidermy, which was a bunch of covers and remixes.
That's not necessarily bad.
Oh, it wasn't bad, but I mean, they were covering songs like Creep from Radiohead.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, they were falling more into the world of techno dance than they were.
Well, kind of just going to more just industrial and techno.
Having a violin in your band doesn't make you a steampunk band.
Yeah, exactly. That means you might have a slight folk aspect, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're a steampunk. Yeah. This is a band I actually heard of from a comedian talking about an interest of one of his daughters, and they went to the zoo to see them, which makes sense when you hear the name Steam Powered Giraffe. I've never heard them, but I'm very interested. They do folk rock, essentially, right?
Yeah.
You've heard them?
I've heard Steam Powered Giraffe, and I really like their look on stage. If you go to YouTube, they have...
but their music, not so much.
Their music's not too bad.
Yeah.
They're very similar to a band you're probably going to mention in a minute called The Death of the Cog.
Yeah, fuck, I wrote down The Cog is Dead. That was the name of the album.
Yeah,
I think.
No.
No.
Right.
Yeah, it is The Cog is Dead, and I think the album was called Steam Powered Stories or something.
Because I actually have it. Yeah. The Cog is Dead is the name of the band.
Yeah. So they're like Steam Powered Giraffe is like The Cog is Dead.
Very similar in style.
Okay. The thing with Cog is Dead though is, I just wrote down that they were all over the place because that album they try a lot of different genres, including the absolute worst ska song I've ever heard.
Which one was that?
I don't remember the name because every time it comes up on my iPod, I skip it, and I don't know why it's on my iPod. I hate it so much.
Wait, it's the one about the train, right?
I don't even know. I listened to it like once or twice, and I was like, this is terrible. But yeah, they will do the Blood, Sweat and Tears, which is about people working in a factory and dying for their work, and they do I can't remember what
Call for War.
With the town being attacked by bandits, and they have to use steam.
Which has a really nice folk country.
Yeah, it's like it's a real westerny type song. I like that song a lot, and each song is different, and they have little stories in between, and it's talking about the horrible bastard who created I think analog watches, Clockwork. Yeah.
Mr. Hamilton.
Yeah,
Good old Mr. Hamilton.
Son of a bitch. But
And
moving on.
I think I do need to mention this at least once in a Steam-powered episode, that even to this day, I refuse to use an analog, like a digital watch. My watch I use is still an old pocket watch with wind-up gears.
That's an analog watch.
Yeah, analog, not digital.
Yeah. I've always, when I was a kid, I had trouble learning to read clock faces. And so I used a digital watch for a long time. I was like, you know what, fuck it. And then I actually got a watch for graduation, which is currently, the clock still works, but the band broke. And I like it a lot better. It's
there's something more human about it.
Yeah, exactly. Another band which I haven't heard, they're generally considered just to be straight up punk, which are the Men That Will Not Be Blamed for Nothing. Good name, bit long. Have you heard of them?
I have heard of them. Again, another group I find them too punk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For my steampunk taste.
I really do like. I once described punk as being like salt. By itself, there's such thing as too much. You know, and like if you spill some salt, pick it up with your finger, put it in your mouth, it tastes good. If you say open the salt thing and dump it in your mouth, that's god awful.
You're gonna be on the ground twitching.
But if you add punk to other things, like you salt other things, like say folk or metal, or if you just put a bit of punk into most other genres, like Electric Six or the Dreadnoughts or Dropkick Murphys.
Creep Show is another.
Creep Show, yeah, that's Psychobilly, which is punk and rockabilly put together. Yeah, punk is salt. By itself can be good, usually is. It's not like, I've always been more of a fusion genre fan. The first genre of music I ever really started like following would have been ska. Third wave ska specifically, which the actual ska actually predates reggae, which most people don't know. But anyways, let's not talk about music. That is not related. Thomas Truax and Thomas Dolby, they're not a joint act. They're two separate dudes, but they're both called singer-songwriters. Like kind of a Bob Dylan-y type thing, I guess.
Right.
I've heard of Thomas Dolby. The name sounds familiar. I don't know if I've heard either of their music, though. Have you?
No, neither.
Okay. The Bernian Process, you've heard of them.
I've heard of Bernian.
Some of it's dark wave synth. Some of it, really good.
Yeah.
Some of it. But it's really hit or miss, I find. The problem is, you go to their website, and you can open up a thing that has the radio, and it'll play through all their songs and albums. Can't find a download of it. I don't have a credit card. I would buy it if I could, but I can't. And
like they're okay. One person who I'm really shocked I'm enjoying his stuff because I despise hip hop.
Is it Professor Elemental?
It is Professor Elemental.
That is chap hop, sir.
That is chap hop.
That is chap hop. I can tell you another chap hop artist. He is Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer. They are both.
They are in a war right now. So
yeah. Well,
choose
the
your
thing
side.
is, Mr. B actually made a video that Professor Elemental appeared in. And like, Professor Elemental did come first. He was the first one to really start the chap hop scene, so far as I understand. Chap hop is obviously a very specific type of hip hop, which is rapped by British people, rapped in a received accent, which is the super proper posh British accent, because there's a fuck ton of English accents. But yeah, it's about being a gentleman, smoking pipes, drinking gin, doing acid.
And Professor Elemental, he does go more into the steampunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He often talks about. There's one song called "Steam Powered." There's that one where he will mention his steam powered flying machine and his weird inventions and stuff. But his invention, Monkey Butler, yes, Jeffrey. Yeah, it's. The thing is when people hear chap hop and you describe what it is, you can tell most people are just like, that can in no way be good. But the thing is, Professor Elemental.
Explain it to Sonny's listen to hip hop. They get the Krispy Kreme eyes. They literally just glaze.
Yeah. The thing is, Professor Elemental as a rapper is very good. Very technical. He can get a lot of words in a single breath. It's not like he's rapping so fast you can understand everything he's saying, and he's making good points, and like he's a good rapper. Mr. B is he's a parodist. He is doing rap, and they are well written songs, but it's like one of the first song I heard was called Straight Out of Surrey, which is a play on Straight Outta Compton, except he's talking, some of the lyrics are directly related to Straight Outta Compton, but it's about playing cricket. And he plays a banjo-lele as well.
Exactly Surrey isn't exactly a low-brow community.
Exactly, that's the thing, because he's a posh motherfucker. And like, there's one song where he's going over the rules of being a proper gentleman. Always wear tweed. Don't smoke. Drink gin all the time. And like, he's really funny, but in terms of actual skill, definitely Professor Elemental. Also, he is actually steampunk. Professor B, Mr. B is not.
And another thing, I'll bring up the song "Fighting Trousers" by Professor
Yes,
Elemental,
because
which is
like, someone's been biting me. Fetch me my fighting trousers.
Which is a full attack on Mr. B.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the entire song is a thing. Is, I do think, since it's such a small genre, as so far as I'm aware, the sooner they get over this little bit of beef, the better, I think. Because I like Chap Hop a lot.
I think it's kind of interesting to see, like, it wouldn't surprise me to find out this beef is kind of
like a
planned,
almost a ploy. Like,
yeah,
it's not actually real.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me to find that out.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I don't think there's been too much going on with it. Like, when I look at all the dates and stuff, because some of this I'm just getting into.
Mm-hmm.
It's been going on for a few years, and there just seems to be no real update on it.
Yeah. One thing regarding Professor Elemental, there was a comic convention thing where they had a steampunk panel. Him and a magician and some other steampunk notables in society where it came to the conclusion that steampunk is not a subculture but a superculture, because it incorporates other subcultures, incorporates the Neo-Victorians, incorporates the goths, incorporates this and that, which to me seems like they're just inflating their own egos.
Yeah.
That's like saying psychobilly culture is a superculture, because it incorporates rockabilly and punk, you know?
I mean, steampunk is still, I think one day it could be considered a superculture.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, it's still, it would be a subculture.
What other thing would you call a superculture other than mainstream culture? I don't think I don't think that exists.
I would, to say something controversial here, I'd say cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk is
pushing
something.
A superculture.
It's I don't know. It like, cyberpunk is similar. It came before steampunk. It's the idea of integration of cybernetics and technology into human physiology, essentially cyborgs, androids, shit like that. Actually, like, hooking into the internet with, say, a finger or something like that. There's been a fuck ton of books. They've been huge since the 80s. What's that one role-playing game?
Oh,
Dark something or others. There's suddenly it takes place on Earth. There's like cyber samurais and stuff. It's all based on it's sort of loosely based on an actual novel series, which had hackers and cyber samurais and stuff like this. It sounds really interesting, but at the same time extremely hard to get into. But again, I need to actually read the book before I can say that. Like, I was gonna say Darksiders, but that's that game where you play as war. Basically Super Link. That's what Darksiders is. Regarding the actual steampunk philosophy, they do have one, I found out, which is something that they're trying to kind of get a bit more popular.
Okay.
Which it would be punk-inspired anti-establishment sentiments.
Okay.
Which to me seems a little off, but bolstered by optimism about human potential and corsets. The thing is the human that to me just sounds like punk.
Yeah,
like the positive punk, not the nihilist punk, you know.
But like, and when you look into steampunk, the way steampunk worlds are built, they're built around monocratic government.
Mm-hmm. And gentlemanly pursuits.
Yeah. I don't know where they're getting this anti-establishment.
Neither do I.
Like, I know there are branches within the steampunk community that have the anti-establishment look. Again, Abney Park, their whole basis was steampunk pirates.
Yeah. I don't know why I just don't like Abney Park. That's the thing. The thing is if you're being a gentleman, if you're living in a monocratic government, you are not anti-establishment. It's wait a second, monocratic monarchy. Is that what
monocratic would be.
Is that okay? Well, yeah, it's not necessarily like everyone loves the queen, but it's more like, and this reminds me, when people dress up as steampunks,
yes,
they tend to either be mechanics,
right,
or a weird type of aristocrat, one or the other. You don't see the steampunk cobbler. There's no shoemakers in steampunk land.
There is a very good reason for this, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there's two types of people that dress up in steampunk. Those who enjoy it but have no money. Yourself, myself.
I don't dress up as anything.
Yeah, well, you don't dress up.
No.
I have been known to.
Yeah, when you wore the utilikilts to the comic convention and you were mocked by a man in a wheelchair because you were polite to him. That was weird. Anyways, continue.
But people of low income, who are usually your mechanic types, the reason for this, their main source of clothes, Value Village. And this is coming from the steampunk community. You then get your more upper crust ones who devote way too much money. These will be the ones wearing usually all the fancy machined copper,
the giant hoop skirt thing,
have the proper hoop skirts, have the proper tailored hats, and these are more your upper crust.
Yeah, that to me is not an excuse. There's no excuse. I think it's a lack of imagination in the majority of people that follow this, and that's not saying that anyone who follows steampunk has a lack of imagination. I just think that most people have a lack of imagination.
I'm a steampunk reporter. Thank you very much.
Are you really?
I wear.
Do you have a monocle thing that has varying?
I really wish I did.
Wouldn't that be great?
Be amazing.
Oh wow!
But no, I'm more white shirt, suspenders,
tucked in shirt,
yeah. Nice belt,
tweed.
No tweed. No tweed. I'm not that much of a gentleman.
Okay.
Well, yeah. So as a report, like I'm just wearing traditional brown, nice pair of shoes. I'm just above a mechanic, but below an actual.
What about you?
Scholarly gentleman.
What about you would show that you're not just a neo-Victorian, but an actual steampunk dude?
Probably the brown.
That's not enough reason.
No eyeliner.
No eyeliner.
There isn't and that's the thing, there's such a thin line between being steampunk
and being just a neo-Victorian.
Being a neo-Victorian.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to make that description, especially when you're not putting heavy amounts of money into it.
Yeah.
Like, as you said, you see a lot of people, either the mechanics or the chaps, as we'll call it, the higher class, because it's just so easy to show, hey, I'm steampunk because I can slap copper over myself.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can also get copper paint. You can make stuff. People make stuff all the time. I'm not saying that you yourself are failing. I'm just saying
you're saying
I'm just saying
saying I'm failing as a steampunk.
Yeah, actually, you're just a poor person.
Just a poor person.
Not just in terms of finances, but in terms of character.
In terms of character,
I don't like you, Colin. Anyway. Have you heard about steampunks interloping at Renaissance fairs?
I'm still having trouble getting over you not liking me.
I'm fucking messing with you. You know that.
I know.
You've known me 4 years. But the thing is,
I've heard about this.
If ever there's a culture that can somewhat intercede on another person's culture, they will always do that simply to be dicks.
It shouldn't leave the Renaissance people alone. They were the original.
Yeah. Or just a steampunk Civil War reenaction. I would totally pay money to see that.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. Steampunk Abraham Lincoln. You know my feelings about that speech.
I really don't.
I will. I'd pay money to see Abraham Lincoln talk.
Have you seen the movie yet?
I haven't seen the Daniel Day-Lewis one.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say I did spend the extra money to get Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter in 3D. so I could see the speech in 3D.
That makes me sad.
Bad movies need love too, Corey.
Yeah,
Bad
they
movies need love too.
unless they're really bad. Like, well, no, I was gonna say like Troll 2, but that's so amazing. I don't know. Yeah, it's just if you have cardboard and wire and shit, get some copper paint, make a giant wrench. Because what else are you gonna do for steampunk other than fix airships all goddamn day and wear brown?
It's a very depressing society when you think about it.
But they're also positive.
You know, maybe this is what steampunk is.
Right.
It is a way to express your complete depression with society
So
while still seeming happy, which isn't goth.
Yeah.
I think we're narrowing down what steampunk is here.
Steampunk are positive goths that know the color of brown.
But no, the color of brown. Are too positive for black.
Yeah. But not positive enough for blue. Not yet. One day. Yeah, I think that about covers it. I'm glad that we came to a conclusion regarding what steampunk actually is. Thanks again for doing this, and yeah, that's been Geektionary.